kid.
Let's see. Stream is pending until broadcast software connects, and it appears to be connected. Yay! It worked. But are we actually online? Can never tell with Substack. Yeah, see, I don't see a video. Where's my video? Oh, there we are. Ta-da! And the peoples are coming. The peoples are coming. Hello, peoples. Hello, peoples. I have to imagine there's not going to be too many West Coast people since it's literally 6 o'clock in the morning over there. Hi, everybody. Yeah, this is just pre-show yapping. Just, getting ready for 9 o'clock, letting everybody trickle in bit by bit. We're an hour earlier than usual. Maybe we'll pick up some of the Daily Whatever's audience. Actually, they're not recording this week.
Oh, yeah.
They're only going to be on Fridays for now.
For the summer, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Recording every day is crazy.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I mean, we could wing it every day, but man, oof. Whoa. Even mildly prepping every day for that. But then again, they don't. Well, they do write articles as well. So, and they have full-time jobs. So it's like I can't even.
They just love their audience.
Yeah, I like you guys, but not that much. Sorry.
I mean, I just don't have the time.
I mean, I would if I didn't do anything else, but I like doing other stuff. Like sleeping. Sleeping is good. All right. Let's get that up in the corner. Ta-da! Good morning. Good morning. La da 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 da. T-Ree. Good morning, T-Ree. Let's see. Got our music. We got a this. We got a that. Yeah, it is weird how none of the sound effects record. None of the music, none of the sound effects. It just disappears between this and Riverside.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know why that is. Yada yada. Tomorrow, Jordan and Lila graduate. It's very exciting.
I know. Deb sent me or I sent her my email address today so she could send me the link for Jordan's graduation.
It's going to be very cute. They decorated his cap last night so we can spot him in the crowd. Although, generally speaking, well, actually, that's not true. There's a lot of other kids in his grade that are like his height, so he doesn't stick out as much as he used to.
Oh yeah.
I mean, in elementary and middle school, he was always easy to spot because he was like a head taller than everybody else. Now, not so much.
Did I ever tell you the story about how I rooted for another kid the entire soccer game?
What's up, Patrick? Didn't recognize your own child?
Well, the thing is like Aiden we like to call him, he's like white passing, right? Like you look at him and he has Hispanic features for sure, right? But he's just like, he looks like a Caucasian kid, especially when not so much now you can like really tell. But when he was in, high school, like younger, he just looked like a white boy. Or at least I thought. And then he got in with his soccer team and all of the kids were Hispanic. And I literally could not tell which one was him from a distance.
Are you trying to say they all look alike?
And I wasn't wearing my glasses Well, they all had all of the kids had the same damn haircut. And all
That's
of them were wearing, like, the same color cleats. It was just so and Aiden is tall, but I guess not. I guess it wasn't as tall as I thought he was. So I rooted for this kid the whole game, and then Donna looked at me and she went, "You know that's not him, right?" I
when
was
another
working
woman recognizes your kid more than you.
Yeah, well, I was working concessions and I wasn't wearing my glasses. I literally couldn't see that far.
Is that your story and you're sticking to it?
Well, you didn't even know that I wear glasses. So that should tell you how often I wear them. Yeah, it was embarrassing. So, yep. And then I went to go see Jackson play, who's my you know Jackson, my
Yeah.
godson. And he plays for this like pretty notable like sports school. And he was playing with the other kids. So I couldn't find him either. I was like, "Oh, this is bad. I need to go I need to just go wear the glasses."
I mean, that happens when you're middle aged. So
I when Aiden was playing, I was like 30s. Like, so there's no excuse for that. It was like 34. I couldn't find him.
oh my goodness. All right. Should we get
Alright,
started?
let me just pull up my notes. And put you got my screen has alpacas. Put these over here. I'm breathing into my mask and I have coffee breath. I'm
And
like
whose fault is that?
grossing myself out. Just really quickly while I'm doing this, your wife messaged me at like 5:50 in the morning. Maybe like 5:45. It's super early to ask me for my email address. And I responded to her right away. And she goes, "What are you doing up?" I was like, "Oh, I have to take somebody to work. I've been driving these two like family friends to work for like 2 weeks, and I brought the girl to go get a car yesterday, but she didn't have enough money down, which by the way, I have bought a new car with like $500 down. She could not get a used car with $600 down. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Yeah,
Damn.
crazy. And they're young, so they don't have the credit to like get a new car.
Can't wait
Okay.
until next summer when I start looking for a car. That's going to be well. By then, the economy will have exploded, so that's going to be even more entertaining. So,
Well, you know what they said to us yesterday, that he said that it's the car business is really slow right now, so people are motivated to sell, but they want more down.
I guess that
But again, this is at a used car lot. I'm assuming you're going to get a new car, right?
I am not. I wanted to. I
You
wanted to get a
should.
brand new car, but I mean, they're so expensive now.
And I feel like you can find a mid-level car for cheap.
Well, but I wanted to get an EV.
Well, listen, I have an Outlander and they have a hybrid version that is like starts at like, oh, I guess it starts at 36.
Yeah, that's way more than they were a year ago or a year and a half ago. It's like,
Or
God
no,
damn.
it starts at 42. I'm sorry, it starts at 42, but they were 36 when I looked at them 5 years ago.
Right. So it's like, God damn it.
Maybe they'll drop in price by then.
I'm hoping so. Like, if I can
Okay.
get a car for like 30, I'll be like, okay, I can live with that. And I don't really want to spend that much, but gotta do what I gotta do.
Right. Well, my Outlander cost 28 when it was new, but it's not a hybrid.
Right.
But it is really, really good on gas.
I either want to get a hybrid or I would prefer to get an all electric, but I'll, whatever I have to do. If I have to get a hybrid, I'll get a hybrid. I wasn't unhappy with a hybrid.
But you can get a new car from, or like a used car from like a reputable dealership. She was going to like buy here, pay here places. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Alrighty.
All right, let's get going.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see who we got here. All right. This will work. All right. Hi, everybody. Woo. We're getting started. Episode 101. This is the Opinionated Ogre Podcast, your weekly rampage through current events with a little snark, a bit of foul language, and a lot of strong opinions. There are new episodes every Thursday, and they're not safe for work or polite company of any kind whatsoever. I am your podcast host, the Opinionated Ogre, and this is my co-host, Florida Woman. Hello, Florida Woman.
Good morning, everyone.
I got to ask you, are you going to get up in the middle of the podcast, call me crooked and stupid, and storm off the set because I hurt your feelings? Because if you're not going to do that, I'm afraid you're never going to be qualified to be president of the United States because, women are just too emotional.
No, I don't think I'm going to do that today.
Then I'm just not doing my job as a journalist. I'm ashamed of myself. All right. This is the recording for Friday, June 12th, 2026, and we have a lot to get to on episode 101 of the Og Pod. We ready to do this?
We are.
All right, then let's get to it. It's time for the Ogre Nation News Update. Ooh, that didn't sound right. Roar.
Roar. Well, before we get started, I just want to say Happy Loving Day to everybody. For those of you who don't know, the Supreme Court loving ruling is what made interracial marriage legal, and it's how I can be married to my husband. And I figured this would be a perfect segue into our first segment of the day, which is how this Supreme Court would never do that because they are really, really, really racist.
What?
And very, very corrupt.
No.
Hold on, I have to cough. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, without loving, I wouldn't exist.
Oh, that is probably true. I have to take pull my glasses up. I'm suffocating myself with my mask this week. So, hold on. I'm so sorry. This is what happens when we record on Friday. So last week, the Supreme Court once again decided that racial gerrymandering is totally fine, guys.
No, what? Not this Supreme Court.
No, not this one. Even after reassuring the public in Calais that it was not okay. Calais, as you know, is the ruling that nullified the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. This judicial doublespeak is something that we've gotten used to or grown accustomed to with the Supreme Court, which is the most corrupt and most partisan in history. And yes, I know that we have the Dred Scott ruling, but this one's
they're going to be writing about this Supreme Court for like the next 200 years as the most corrupt. Like they really are.
No, they're terrible. I mean, from gifts from billionaire donors and trading stocks, it's insane. And, fuck you to everyone who said we were fear-mongering in 2016 when we said that Hillary Clinton would save the Supreme Court.
I won't vote my fear. You can't make me vote my fear. Okay, asshole. And then have the nerve to turn around and blame us for it. That's my favorite part of that.
Yeah.
It's like, why are Democrats stopping this? Fuck you.
Fuck those people. The Bernie bros, man. So, as you know, we've been following Alabama's redistricting shenanigans in the Allen versus Milligan case. That's the one where a 3-judge panel at the district court for the Northern District of Alabama, the district courts just have such long names, ruled that the state's 2023 maps were racially gerrymandered. This panel, by the way, was composed of 2 Trump appointees, and 1 Obama appointee. This wasn't an ordinary case because the Supreme Court had already ruled on this 3 years ago in 2023. That is the same 3-judge panel determined that the maps drawn up by the Republican state legislature were intended to deny Black voters their power in the state. And this was a big fucking deal in a state where 1/3 of the voters are Black. To dilute their political power in that kind of way really brought us all back to Jim Crow. The GOP lawmakers, though, were kind of pissed off and ran to the Supreme Court and asked them to please let them discriminate. But the High Court was like, nah, these maps are hella racist, violate the Voting Rights Act, and violate the 14th Amendment. That was the Supreme Court, the same one that we have now.
Literally, it's the same exact people because this was only 3 years ago, so nothing has changed
Nothing
except Donald
except
Trump said, "I want the redistricting done." That's the
exactly.
only thing that changed.
Now, at the time, we talked a lot about this because Alabama decided that it was going to ignore the Supreme Court ruling by redrawing the maps again with only one majority black district. So basically, they did exactly the same thing again. And they were like, what are you going to do about it, bruh? The lower court once again blocked Alabama from using the maps. And then this year, after the Roberts Court nullified Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act with its Calais ruling, Alabama ran back to the High Court again with the determination of the 1963 Birmingham Fire Department when it was turning its hoses loose on black people. And
Ouch.
yeah. This time, the Supreme Court vacated the lower court's injunctions, allowing Alabama to use its racist 2023 maps, and sent the case back to the district court. The court once again ruled that the maps were racist as fuck. Alabama wouldn't back down and appealed it to their Klan leader, John Roberts, again. This time, the Supreme Court issued an unsigned opinion with the 3 liberal justices dissenting, of course, and upheld the maps. So last week, in its ruling, the court referred to a previous statement by Justice Insurrection Samuel Alito, where he had essentially said that partisanship can't be separated from race because the two are so closely aligned. In other words, discrimination is okay because black people usually vote for Democrats, and you can't prove that the state was racially gerrymandering and not partisan or gerrymandering along partisan lines. And this new decision by the court means that it's going to be almost impossible for cases or people to prove that Republicans are racially gerrymandering in the future and not just politically gerrymandering. These fucking masks, man.
And the thing that's crazy about it is when they sent it back to the lower court specifically sent it back and said, no, we actually said this was a racial gerrymander. And according to your ruling, you cannot do a racial gerrymander. We were very clear about this. This was not partisan. This was racial. And according to your ruling under Calais, no. And then the six Supreme Court justices were like, we don't care. Actually, we don't care.
No, yes, because they said, no, you misunderstood what we were saying to you.
Yeah, we said racism is okay because actually it's just the same as partisan. La la la.
Right. And so they created this whole new rule or this whole new test to prove racial gerrymandering, which is that you would have to prove that they weren't just partisan gerrymandering. And the only way to prove that they weren't partisan gerrymandering is if they drew a bunch of districts where there was black people who were like voting for Republican, but that doesn't exist.
And also, if they went out and said, yeah, we're making sure black people can't vote, or if there was a bunch of emails saying, man, we're going to keep those beep beep beeps from voting because we hate beep beep beep, and just use a bunch of N words. That's the only way. And even then, I'm sure they would say, well, actually, they were just doing it because it was partisan, not because they were actually black. Because the whole point is to keep black people from voting.
Yeah, and really, truly, in a state where 1/3 of the electorate is black, it is crazy that they've done this. And it is very, 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 very much bringing us back to the fire hoses or the bus boycott in Birmingham. I mean, this is a state where the civil rights movement kicked off. This is a state which is the whole reason for the Voting Rights Act to begin with, because they were so brutal and so intent on keeping black people from having any political power. This fucking court, man.
Yep. They're just absolutely fucking shameless. And all because Donald Trump said, steal the midterms for me. You have to rig the elections and steal the midterms because he doesn't want to lose.
Yeah, and the Calais ruling was horrible, but this just proved that the court is beyond saving. And they're continuing to give Democrats the moral and legal justifications they need for expanding and reforming the court. The corruption is too deep for them to do anything else, and if Democrats are not running on Supreme Court reform, like, what are they even fucking doing at this point?
Yeah, I mean, are they even serious? Because if they get back into power and they don't do something about the court, they won't be able to do anything.
Yeah, we as the electorate need to be like, hey, we're done.
Yeah,
They
no,
literally,
they
I mean, like I said in a couple of episodes again, or a couple of episodes ago, this is what they meant by the South will rise again, I think.
I mean,
This is what they're
the
doing.
plan was always to like overturn democracy with the courts, and they just jumped the gun. They weren't really ready to do it, but they're going for it anyway.
Yeah, and I want you guys to remember this when the birthright citizenship ruling comes down and the court is like, hey, you're violating the 14th Amendment to the Trump regime. And you hear all kinds of people in the media going, see, they're not really racist. They upheld birthright citizenship. Like, nah, they upheld part of the Constitution, and make no mistakes, if they could overturn birthright citizenship, they would.
I mean,
I
I
promise
to,
you.
they just won't do it yet because they're not in a position to do it yet.
And I promise you, the birthright citizenship ruling is going to be very narrowly decided, which will show you how serious they are about keeping it.
Yeah, this is they don't have the power to actually enforce it. Like they can't just start sweeping up, 60 million people and deporting them. It would be a disaster if they start doing that. But if they consolidate fascist power in 10 years, they will go back and they will overturn it. The same people will still be there and they will overturn it because actually we thought about it. Now that we have the power to actually remove all of those people, yeah, no, we don't believe in birthright citizenship anymore. They never did. It would be extremely dangerous for them to overturn it now. Kind of like they were biding their time to overturn Roe. They weren't in a good position to do it. And once they were, that's when they did it.
Yeah. So. And, just like Roe, I think Calais shows how this court operates. They chip away, chip away, chip away, chip away, chip away until there's nothing left, and then they just overturn it. And that's what they did with Section 2, or the Voting Rights Act in general. They chipped away at it, chipped away at it, chipped away at it, chipped away at it, and then this year they were just like, nah, we don't need that.
Yeah, and I would very much not be surprised if now that there's really no Voting Rights Act, that they start passing laws explicitly designed openly to disenfranchise Black people.
They're already doing that.
No, I mean like back to poll taxes and literacy tests, stuff like that.
Well, they're already doing that. I mean, arguably, voter ID is a poll tax. Unless they're giving us the IDs for free, they're forcing people to pay to vote because have to pay.
I'm talking about much more.
I know what you mean.
Much more overt. Like you literally have to pay in order to vote. It's like, I'm sorry, there's a $30 fee for you to vote. Sorry, you have to pay $30.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess I'm just saying that they're already doing that with voter ID.
Yeah, but now they're going to be more overt about it.
Yeah.
All right, let us move on to Donald Trump. His physical and mental collapse are really getting to the point where they're just too severe to hide anymore. He disappeared for over a week. The press is doing the best they can to cover this up because he disappeared for a week, and they barely asked why, because they were too busy washing their hair, getting their nails done, working out in the gym. It was really really a tough time for them to do their jobs. And the president disappearing for over a week. I mean, is that really a story? Is it? Jill Biden had a book coming out and talking about how Joe Biden was old. That was really important. We had to talk about that. There were more stories about Jill Biden's book and Joe Biden being old than there were about the fact that Donald Trump disappeared for a week, which I found to be quite amazing. When he showed up again, he had the bruises on the back of his hand. He was super fucking confused about what the hell he was doing. Last week, he was signing a batch of executive orders, and for each one he signed, someone had to explain to him what he was signing and why he was signing it. Which
my son has mentioned that in the past. When Trump signs executive orders, he has somebody standing next to him whispering what they're about.
Yeah, he does not know what he's doing. He signed a new executive order about Schedule F, which makes it legal to fire thousands of government employees for any reason whatsoever. And he didn't, he had to have someone explain to him what it was for, and he didn't know why they were doing it. Like, he thought it was like, well, whose idea was that, and why are we doing it? Which is insane, right? He's no longer running the country. Not really. He does sometimes, like when he wakes up long enough to be like, well, I want you to go and punish this person, or I want you to go bomb this country because someone told me to. He's a puppet for Russell Vought, who runs the Office of Management and Budget OMB.
OMB.
Yeah. Stephen Miller, who's still more or less in charge of immigration, and whoever else is in the White House has an agenda and access to a dying old man in the Oval Office.
Right. I mean, the only thing Trump wants to do is decorate things.
Right. And because that's the only thing he can focus on is building monuments to himself, because that's the only thing he can think of. His latest is the Trump Promenade, which would connect the Lincoln Memorial to the Potomac, because we need this for some reason. He's absolutely obsessed with marking Washington, D.C. as his territory, like a fucking dog, because he thinks nothing he puts up is going to be erased when he dies or when he's incapacitated by his dementia. Either which one of these things is going to be happening very soon. And the damage is getting so severe that the press is, as hard as they're trying, they're not going to be able to stain washes for much longer. And, Jake fucking Tapper is still whining, big sobbing tears about Joe Biden not being honest about Joe Biden after debate. But where's his fucking crusading about Trump dying right in front of us? Nothing, right? But he needs to, Jake Tapper still needs to justify what he did to Joe Biden and what he kept doing to Joe Biden and what he's still doing to Joe Biden. But honestly, until he starts doing the same thing to Trump, because, he's a reporter, it's supposed to be his job, he can't justify a fucking thing. So he can go fuck himself. Because what we say all the time, Republicans are not held to a lower standard. They're held to no standard at all. And Trump's renovations are all garbage. Like, they redid the pool.
And they're already sucking up algae from it.
Exactly. Now, they say that's leftover algae from the pipes. And I'm like, really? You didn't clean out the pipes while you were doing a $14 million renovation? Are you stupid? Whatever. But
also, I've never seen algae come out of pipes and just blow out and coat the entire bottom of a pool before.
Yeah, that's not really how that works. But they swear they have filters. And I was like, they better have some heavy duty filters, because that's a lot of water. That is an enormous amount of water. And you would have to have enormous fucking filters running 24 fucking 7, which $14 million does not sound like enough to keep that running all the fucking time. So good luck. I figure by the end of the summer, that pool is going to be a dingy ass color. And then they're going to start running around saying, actually, that's not algae. Antifa poisoned the water or some shit like that. I guarantee they're going to start blaming it on liberal activists.
And the crazy thing about him, as we've talked about before, is that we are not necessarily against renovations to certain things. Like fixing the reflecting pool makes sense, right? Although I have to say to you that I don't think that one smells nearly as bad as the one over by Congress. That one over
Well,
by Congress is
it's
disgusting.
they call it the swamp for a reason. But
But it's just the way that he does everything. It's just, he doesn't follow any of the regulations. And also, why the fuck do we need a promenade, whatever, to
we
connect to the Potomac? Can't
don't.
we just walk over to the Potomac on the path?
He just wants something he can slap his name on. That's all it is. Now, personally, I'm glad he's doing all of this shit because the more hyper focused he is on pointless and expensive, wildly expensive construction projects that he can slap his name on and, for his own personal glory. And I wrote about this last week. The more time he spends on this, the more disconnected he looks, or he appears. Well, not appears, he is. The more disconnected he is from the lived experience of everyone else in the country, because inflation's going up, and it hit 4%. It hit 4% this week. And what was his reaction? I love inflation, right? And he went on this weird, bizarre tangent about how we're stealing oil from Iran and blah 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 blah. And people are like, "What the fuck are you talking about? You sound like a fucking crazy person. My grocery bills are still through the roof. Rent is still going through the roof. Everything's still more expensive. And you're sitting there going, I love inflation. After telling us that affordability is a hoax and it's all bullshit and you don't care and you don't pay attention to our financial situation. And you promised us that you were going to come in and fix all of this on day one. And now everything is 100 times worse, specifically because of what you're doing. And all you can fucking talk about is my pool and how big it is, and my ballroom and how I demand a ballroom, and I want to renovate this and I want to renovate that because I'm a construction guy and I'm a business guy and I'm blah 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 blah. And all you talk about is how much money you're making because you're a billionaire now and whatever. And his own voters are getting really fucking sick of it. Like, he's hit, I think, 80% disapproval on the economy, and people are just on inflation, and people are super fucking pissed about this. And again, we still haven't even gotten to the really ugly stuff. That's still coming by the fall. The economy's going to be in like flaming wreck. And Trump's going to sit there and be like, well, it's not my fault. We just have to accept this pain. Sorry, deal with it. And people are going to be like, okay, well, let me show you how I'm going to deal with it. Not voting for Republicans. So go for it. Keep going out there saying you love inflation and, telling everyone to go fuck themselves. That's going to go. Hi, Jordan. That's going to go really, really well for you. So, all right.
Jordan coming to see you. Nathan just ran in here too.
Our little neurospicy children.
So we have to talk about Graham Plattner, right?
Yes, we do.
Hi. So I just got to be honest with you.
I'm not going to actively support him. I won't. I will not support him. The guy had a fucking Nazi tattoo. But
no, of course,
the people of Maine overwhelmingly voted for him in their primary.
After they knew he had the Nazi tattoo, by the way.
Yeah, and all the other stuff that came out. And it's like, you know what? If you're going to overwhelmingly vote for him, that's your fucking choice. You want to vote for him and you want him to be your senator, then that's on you. It's your state. You're going to do what you want. I'm not going to tell people not to vote for him. I'm not going to support him. I'm not going to go out there and go, yeah, let's vote for, everyone's got to support him. It's like, Maine, you're going to do what you're going to do. If you vote for him, great. You get the senator you vote for. And if he turns out to be good, awesome, great, wonderful. He put that shit behind him. And if he turns out to be an asshole, guess what? That's who you voted for. Now you're stuck with him for 6 years.
I mean, I really do hope that he did put this stuff behind him.
I would
Like, I
love that.
really do hope that he's reformed, because I've always said we should give people the space to learn and grow. But he's just
I know. I'm
how
glad
much
I don't
space
have
are
to.
we giving you?
I'm glad I don't have to make that choice. I'm glad I'm not stuck having to like hold my nose. But they want him, then okay. You know what? As long as you get rid of Susan Collins, and hopefully it works out. Fingers crossed. Now, on the other hand, I will not put up with any of the bullshit from the press with their, oh my God, oh, he's got so many scandals. Oh my God. It's
Oh,
like,
the pearl clutching is crazy.
yeah, it's like, you know what? No,
You,
no,
you
no, no.
guys actively pushed a 28-time felon or whatever the fuck he is, who was accused of molesting or raping women, who is an adjudicated rapist.
And we all know he's in the fucking Epstein files because he is almost certainly a fucking pedophile. And yet, I mean, he had ties to the Russian mafia, ties to the American mafia. He's stolen and cheated people for his entire fucking life. And
Entire life.
we know he perved out on teenage girls because he admitted to it. And
There's literally a video of him looking at 10-year-old girls saying, "One day I'm going to date them." That girl.
yeah, so, and that's just Trump. Never
And that
mind.
video, and let me just say that video was released in 2015 before all of this AI.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so don't say, oh, it's not real. It's like, yeah, it is.
Right. No, it was real.
We've got Ken Paxton is running, and they didn't clutch their pearls even a fraction as much about Ken Paxton, who cheated on his wife in real life, right? Fucking Graham Plattner, he was fooling around online with just texts, right? Paxton actually cheated on his wife multiple times and is in the middle of a really messy divorce. He actually committed crimes. As far as we know, Plattner has not committed any crimes. Paxton was impeached. He wasn't convicted because Texas Republicans are fucking corrupt as shit. And they didn't clutch their pearls nearly as much over Paxton as they are over Plattner. And it's like, I'm not fucking interested about the press's opinion of Graham Plattner. If they're going to hold Ken Paxton to absolutely no fucking standards at all, I don't care about what they have to say about Graham Plattner. I'm just not. And it's not like, oh, well, I'm going to overlook Graham Plattner's faults because Republicans are worse. That's not what I'm saying. I'm all for holding Plattner accountable. I am not interested in the press holding only Plattner accountable.
If yeah, that's the thing. Is like, we don't have to make the choice that Maine voters have to make, right? We're going to let them do whatever they want to, but I'm not going to pretend that they hold Democrats to the same standard.
Yeah, I'm not fucking doing it. And I will, every time I see them going, oh, but Plattner's this, Plattner's that, I will jump in and go, fuck you.
Yeah.
I will step in. Not so much to defend Plattner, but to say, no, we're not doing this. If you're not going to hold fucking Republicans to the same standards, then you don't get to do this to us. Go fuck yourself. I'm not interested in your bullshit. Not to defend Plattner, but just to hold that line that we do not have to be held to this super high standard, and they hold Republicans to none at all, because I'm so sick of the fucking double standard that we have to be fucking perfect and Republicans can be animals, and they just get away with it. So fuck that.
I mean, how many times have we removed people from our party when they've been look at what's his face, we all loved him, Al Franken. Look at Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo was very, very, very popular in his state, and look at him now.
Yeah, and the only reason the press rallied behind him is because they wanted him to beat Zohran Mamdani, because they hated him more. because they were afraid of what he was going to do in office.
Yeah, those fucking scary grocery stores and food deserts are something else.
Oh my God, he's going to fill in all the potholes. Scary.
Oh, how dare him. He was sitting in the nosebleeds at a Knicks game.
Oh, God. Well, what a snob. All
What
right.
a socialist.
Let's move on to a very, very super quick Epstein update. Do you want to take this?
No, you got this.
All right. Maggie Haberman, who is going to go down in history as a disgusting, filthy propagandist, and Jonathan Swan put out a new book, whose title I'm not going to read because fuck them, in which they continue the grand tradition of shitty journalists withholding information for the public so they can make money. This time, these two assholes detail how the Epstein files have evidence of Trump's creepy, perverted kink of torturing women's nipples. Normally I say, hey, you know, we don't kink shame here, but ill, fucking gross. And
wait, what?
He likes to hurt women's nipples until they're like raw and like painful because he gets off on hurting women. So this, among other things, was in the Epstein files.
Weird kink.
I know, he's just creepy. So a bunch of Trump stooges, including J.D. Vance, Susan Wiles, his chief of staff, Todd Blanche, and Pam Bondi, and a bunch of other people, including Kash Patel, who was on speakerphone, they got together in the Situation Room because this was indeed a situation because they needed to figure out how to keep this from getting out to the public. They did this without Trump, and they worked together to figure out how to bury this creepy fetish stuff. And they did because we didn't hear about it, right? It's not in the Epstein files. We only heard about it because someone in that room opened their mouth. We'll probably won't find out who anytime soon. But still, this is how they started working on burying the Epstein files and, only releasing part of it. They actually suggested having Ghislaine Maxwell go out there, and you know how she was like, oh yeah, Trump's innocent. He didn't do anything. That's where they got the idea from. They started talking about it then. So this would be a conspiracy, a literal conspiracy, and everyone involved should be in prison. But also, fuck Haberman and Swan for burying this for months. Anyway, let us move on.
I'm still hung up on the nipples.
I know. Like, and you know what the weird thing is? The first time I saw anything about it, it was just like Trump, something about Trump having a nipple fetish, and I was like, that's it's like nipple fetish. Like most guys like nipples, most lesbians like nipples. What is the fetish about that? Because they didn't bother explaining what it was. They just they gave it the most bland description possible so you wouldn't know exactly what he was doing. Just he likes nipples. It's like, what's odd about that? And then you had to go look to see what it is that he was doing. That was, it's not a nipple fetish, or it's not, he doesn't like just nipples. He likes hurting them, which is very, very different than just having a thing for nipples.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, moving on to headlines for short attention spans. That's going to stick with me all day. Secretary Pull-Ups, Pete Hegseth, has reportedly stripped 9 Navy officers, including women and Black service members, from a promotion list. This is the second time that he's done this. His decision to mess with the promotion list left a slate of like 22 white men and 1 black man on the promotions list, which, we all know why he's doing it.
If they had a shred of integrity, all 22 of those white guys would be like, yeah, I'm not taking that fucking promotion.
Yeah. I mean, they're put in a very hard position.
I know.
So, one thing that struck me about this when I heard about this was the fucking audacity. Now, remember, we've talked about this before. Pete Hegseth was just a major. And I'm not saying that a major is anything to sneeze at, right? But a major is a significantly lower rank than an admiral. The people that he stripped the promotions from were going to be 1-star admirals. That is significantly lower than a major. So imagine going into a workplace, right? And all of a sudden the guy who was hired 5 minutes ago was your boss, and you, who've been there for 15 years, was like told that you're not going to get the promotion
by the new guy,
by the former temporary worker. Like,
who was a fuck up when he was on the job.
yes, who wasn't even allowed to. He wasn't even allowed to be there for Biden's inauguration, right? Because of his white supremacist tattoos.
Yep.
Yeah. So the audacity really just hit me right in the gut. This is from The Guardian. One government source familiar with the matter said Hegseth had his favorite military occupational specialists, and then gender, and then race. He went through the list and scrubbed a few names. It was felt loud and clear. So everybody knew what he was doing. They knew that he was pulling people off of the list because they were women and men, or women and black. And this is the same military that Hegseth said that he has brought back to meritocracy. Oh, it's a meritocracy. But is it really?
I mean,
Is it really?
If merit means white, then yes.
It's fucking infuriating. I'm so sorry.
It's a whiteocracy.
Oh, that's actually very good. It is a whiteocracy.
All right. Let us move on. Normally, this would be at the top, like in the regular stories, but at this point, it's just like not even a headline anymore. It's all it is a headline. It's not even like a top story. Iran is still firing missiles at us and at Israel and other countries.
Can I just say really fast that I saw something this morning come up from the Babylon Bee, which is like the right wing's Onion, and it says Trump has beaten the record for winning the same war 27 times.
Well, it's up to 39 now. So Trump ordered Israel not to retaliate after Iran launched missiles at them. And to the shock of absolutely no one, Netanyahu, who does not want to end the war, attacked Iran anyway. Specifically, the IDF attacked a petrochemical facility in Iran, which now risks Iran targeting oil infrastructure in other countries. Now, remember, if these facilities are severely damaged or destroyed, it will not matter if the Strait of Hormuz is reopened. It's going to take years to restore the flow of oil, natural gas, and fertilizer, blah, 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 because without the facilities to process it all, nothing's going to happen. So, and who does that benefit? Netanyahu, the warmonger, who needs the fight to continue to stay out of prison.
Literally, he was on trial. Yes. Literally.
Now, hilariously, Trump said that Israel has no choice to accept the terms of the peace deal with Iran. I call the shots. I call all the shots. Netanyahu doesn't call the shots. Because apparently Trump has been hearing the suggestions that he's Netanyahu's lapdog, and he doesn't like it. And we're going to see how well that holds up, because Netanyahu cannot allow the war to end with Iran in a stronger position than it was before the war started. So I don't see that he's going to stop. In the last couple of days, we're still escalating because Iran maybe or maybe not shot down an Apache helicopter. It might have been an accidental collision with a drone. As far as we know, the pilots are fine, but Trump retaliated with more attacks in Iran, during the ceasefire. And Iran immediately said, we're completely reclosing the Strait of Hormuz again, which only had a few ships trickling through, like 10, maybe 20 a day. And I don't even know if it was that much. Meanwhile, it's supposed to be like 150 to 200 ships a day, and we're getting like a fraction of that. So that's a problem. And there's reports that Trump is really sad and super angry because no one's telling him that he's a big, powerful, strong boy, because no one's paying attention to his strikes in Iran. Like, they're reporting that we're striking and everyone's going, yeah, whatever. Okay. including, which is really pissing him off, Iran. They're like, yeah, that's nice. You're shooting at us. Whatever.
What's new?
Yeah, because he keeps demanding their total surrender, and they keep saying no. This is why Trump keeps threatening to launch a massive attack, but then he backs down because he's not going to launch a massive attack, and Iran's just like sitting there and like, you're not going to do that. And if you do, well, you already did that, and we didn't collapse the last time. Why would we surrender this time? Trump's bored. He's angry. The war's massively unpopular, and it's going to turbo boost Republican losses in November. And he really, really wants it to end, but he doesn't know how to end it without effectively surrendering, which would be super, super damaging to him and his, tough guy, strong man, leader, dictator image.
I think it's really funny that the only thing that Trump has done with this war is show Iran that they're stronger than they thought they were.
I know. It's just
And
like, ugh.
it's a lot like what Republicans complained about when we pulled out of Afghanistan and the Taliban quickly seized power again. And Republicans were like, oh, look at what you did. The Taliban is now stronger than ever. And it's like, LOL, that's exactly what just happened in Iran.
Yeah,
And
but
we didn't need to put boots on the ground for 20 years to get there.
and the thing was like, the Taliban in Afghanistan, for the most part, doesn't really do anything. It's just the Taliban in Afghanistan. It sucks for Afghanistan, but they don't they don't really have a big old influence on world politics or world economy or world anything. It's the Taliban in Afghanistan.
No, they just torture and kill their own people. You're right.
Right.
They don't really spread out much. A little bit in Iraq, but
Iran, on the other hand, has a very large influence on world everything, on the global economy, if they want. And now they know they can do it whenever they feel like it. Thanks, Trump. Now, just as an FYI, the press continues to report every single time Trump says the war is over and the ceasefire is holding. We are now literally up to 39 different times now. And the only thing that matters is whether or not the strait is open, and it isn't. So the press they're not just failing, they're actively colluding with Trump, and they're lying about this. Because if Trump says the war's over, the strait's open, and it's not, and they're not reporting that, they're actively lying to us. So keep that in mind. Trump's oil shock is a month or so away, and then the press is not going to have any way to keep fucking lying about this. Trump says we're taking millions of barrels of oil from Iran and no one knows about it, which is why the price of oil isn't skyrocketing, which sounds implausible. Because how would they be getting that much oil through the strait without anyone noticing it? It sounds improbable. And he's lying. They're getting some ships through, but you can only get so much through at night, and there's still mines in there. And if they start putting in more mines, they're going to start sinking ships. And there's nothing we can do to stop it because we don't have the mine clearing ships there. And if we do, Iran knows about it, and they're going to start shooting at them because we can't stop them yet. I suspect one of the reasons that the price of oil is not shooting through the roof yet is that the major oil companies are also colluding with Trump to artificially suppress the price. They know Democrats in power is going to be very, very bad for fossil fuel. Like, we're on the brink of moving towards renewables. It's happening anyway in other countries, and we started moving backwards. But with Democrats in power, we're going to lurch forward. And that's super bad for fossil fuel companies. And they don't want that. They really want to keep Trump in power. If/when we find out they've actually been doing this, I swear to fucking God, the CEOs have to be charged with conspiracy to defraud the public and tamper with elections. And their companies have to be taxed out of existence. It's insane that we have to keep dealing with this shit. And it's time they were held accountable for all of the fucking bullshit they've been putting us through.
Yeah, I also think that the reason that gas prices are kind of low Kind of low,
Kind of
like
low, relatively
3.90,
speaking.
3.99 a gallon, is because a lot of states have suspended their gas tax. So
Like I don't think we've done that here, and it's back down to 3.99 for now. But
it was like 3.70 here this morning.
yeah, and that just can't last much longer. It just can't. We're not getting the same amount of oil from through the strait that we were. They can't ramp it up everywhere else to the same level that we're missing
Yeah,
right now. So it's only going to go for so long. They just can't go la 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 la. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. That if that were the case, we wouldn't care about the Strait of Hormuz. It wouldn't make a difference. Be like, leave that shit closed. We don't need you. And that's not the case.
right. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be so bad when the oil prices go up. I'm already spending so much money on gas.
Very exciting. Can't wait.
So, in other news, speaking of Trump's stupid fucking war, at the top of the show, we alluded to the interview between Trump and Meet the Press host Kristen Welker, where he stormed off the set. Well, during that interview, he denied that he ever said, she asked him about saying that he was not going to start any new wars, and he denied that he ever said that to the American people, when we all fucking know that he campaigned on that very thing. You know, his whole campaign apparatus was telling us that Kamala Harris was going to start wars in the Middle East. She's going to send your sons and daughters to Iran, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, I mean, the entire alt left was all in on that message. That was something
Right.
they pushed constantly. That, oh yeah, she's going to start wars. She's a warmonger. Blah blah. Just like they did with Hillary. Trump's
Yeah.
not going to start wars. The Democrats will. They're the warmongers.
Right. And he knows that this war is hugely unpopular with the American people and his voters. So his solution is to just lie to everyone. Unfortunately for him, the internet exists and we are all able to look back at it. So that's exactly what Politico did for us. And they found a couple of quotes from him. In 2024, while campaigning in Pennsylvania, Trump told rally goers, quote, "I will not send you to fight and die in stupid foreign wars that never end." Huh.
No, well, I mean, it's only been like 3+ months, so
Also, which is what he's saying now. Which is what he's saying now. And also, he has won it 27 times. So, and then he reiterated that promise in his 2024 victory speech. In the victory speech, y'all, where he said, quote, "I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars."
How many does he say he stopped now? Is he up to like 7? Is he up to
Who
8? I
knows?
don't even know.
Yeah, fuck if I know. I mean, he stopped a war in Iran. Don't you know that? And then Politico pointed out that Trump's official White House biography also states that one of the president's top priorities is, quote, "putting a stop to endless wars." No, not only is he lying to voters and saying that he didn't start a new war, or that he's not going to start any new wars, or that he never said that. I'm sorry. Not only is he lying to voters by saying that he never said that he wasn't going to start any new wars, he's also saying that this isn't really a war. It's not a war. He doesn't consider it a war. He said to Welker, quote, "I do not define it at all. I don't think about it. I just do what I have to do."
Is it a special military action, just like in Russia and Ukraine? Because that's what they don't call it a war. It's a special military action. If you call it a war, they put you in jail.
I actually think that's what it is. His administration is calling it something of that nature. Now, Trump is also saying that he knew all along that the war would last for months and cripple the US economy, but he had to do it, guys. He had to, because Iran was going to get nukes. So Trump started the war and deliberately tanked the economy, which he says was the greatest economy ever. But please ignore literally everything he said prior to this. The Ministry of Information has just issued new historical revisions.
And if you say anything else, you're probably a traitor, and you should be in jail.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
treason.
Jail for you.
All right. Trump is ordering his new handpicked head of the Federal Reserve, Kevin Warsh, to not increase interest rates. This is from Bloomberg. President Donald Trump said Federal Reserve policymakers would be wrong to raise interest rates after a blowout jobs report, while insisting he doesn't want to influence Kevin Warsh before he chairs his first Fed meeting. Said Trump, nowadays, when you have good reports, the markets go down because they think they're going to raise interest rates. There's no reason to raise interest rates. Okay, first,
Uh,
first, this was not a blowout jobs report. We only added 172,000 jobs, and Politico has the fucking gall to call this on fire. But under Biden, a jobs report that was over 250,000 jobs was considered, wasn't that great. It's muddling the picture because it's not that strong of a jobs report. So that's not even a double standard at this point. We're just into straight up propaganda territory.
I would like to know what those 172,000 jobs were. I'm wondering if they have anything to do with AI data centers.
It definitely does not. A lot of them were hospitality and something else, which are like
Oh, well,
low,
it's summer.
like low paying jobs.
Oh, there you go.
So now inflation's up and it's still rising. And the way you deal with that is to raise interest rates, which is it kills jobs, but it keeps interest from, that's the thing, right? That's the balancing act. So keeping it steady or lowering interest rates, which is what Trump really, really wants, is going to lead to stagflation, where inflation goes through the roof, but now employment is going to go up as well because nobody's going to have money. People are going to stop spending money, and businesses are going to cut back on hiring because no one's spending money because everything costs so much. That's really bad because it's really hard to get out of stagflation without causing severe economic hardship on the working and middle class. I mean, the rich are going to keep collecting your tax cuts, but the rest of us are going to get fucked. That's what happened in the 70s. We got into stagflation, and they had to murder us to get us out of it.
And can I just point out that inflation is rising and he wants to drop interest rates to make inflation increase more while he only has, 2.5 years left of his term, which means the probably Democrat who takes over is going to be once again tasked with cleaning up his mess. And then Republicans are going to scream for 4 years about how the economy is crappy because of the Democrat who's in office, just like they do every single time. Republicans destroy the economy, and then the Democrat comes in to clean up the economy, and then they spend 4 years saying you're not doing it fast enough, you're not doing it well, and then they come back in and they destroy the economy again.
And the press helps them every single time because
Every
they
single time.
never ever mention how inflation got so high or how the economy got destroyed. Like when Democrats say, yeah, the fucking Republicans did that, the press goes, oh, there goes the partisanship and there goes the blame game. It's like, but you actually know that's what happened. Why aren't you fucking saying it? Now, we mentioned earlier that Trump said, I love inflation. And one suspects that he thinks he can just order the Fed to make inflation disappear now that he has his puppet in place. But Trump has a child's grasp of economics. And when he orders Warsh to push the erase inflation button, that's not going to work. It's going to be the self-destruct button instead. And then Trump's going to rampage around the White House, throwing ketchup at everybody, demanding to know who did this to him while we're all fucked. So that's something to look forward to.
Oof. Sorry, guys, I had to turn off my camera. My mask was making me gag. It was suffocating me. Well, on to something a little bit more infuriating, if that's even possible. It is. So, a South Carolina jury ruled last week that shooting a child in the back is totally fine. Self-defense, guys. We're talking about the case of Cyrus Carmack Black. This was the 2003 shooting of a 14-year-old who was in a grocery store, and the store owner and his son accused the child of stealing. They thought he was stealing 4 bottles of water. But guess what? He wasn't stealing at all. He had put the water back. And they chased this kid out of the store. And while he was running away, they shot him in the back. The father, the 61-year-old father, shot him in the back. Now, the father claimed that the child had a gun. And there was a gun found near his body. But what does that matter? He was literally running away from you. You shot him in the back.
It's not self-defense if someone's running away from you.
Can I just say this hits close to home? I've talked about how my dad was murdered before. Well, my dad was murdered because somebody hit him in the back of the head with a baseball bat. And the guy who killed my dad tried to claim self-defense. And shockingly, the Florida court said, no, you can't really claim self-defense when the person had their back turned to you. Not that it mattered anyways, because that guy only got 6 years in prison. But when I heard about this, of course, it brought me back to when my dad was killed. I would say, fortunately, my dad was 34 years old, but that's not what I mean. I mean, my dad was 34 years old when he was murdered, but this kid was like 14. He was a baby. The
Times
parents,
change.
yeah. Also, my dad's murderer was white. And he only, the court said that he could be rehabilitated. And I used to say all the time, I guarantee if my dad's murderer had been black, he would have been in prison for the rest of his life.
No, easily.
But anyway, so now South Carolina is totally cool with killing people if they're running away. So that's good to know. Let's all stay away from there, especially if you're a person of color. His family's reaction was exactly what you would expect. They issued a statement and said, quote, yesterday a jury watched our 14-year-old boy run away from 2 grown men on video. They knew one of them shot him in the back, and they still said no one is to blame. We are heartbroken. We do not accept it. Cyrus stole nothing. He was a child, and he was running for his life. Our son mattered. Unfortunately, in the South, Black lives don't matter still, as we've seen and talked about this week with the Alabama case and now this. So
it's only going to get worse over the next several years.
Yep.
You know,
it's really, I'm telling you, this is what they meant when they said the South will rise again. They're just legally killing people and stopping them from voting. It's despicable. I can't even.
It's just a matter of time until they start trying to do apartheid laws down there. Because they want to so badly. They just want to do open apartheid because that's who they are. And when we say, wow, you're racist, the press is going to be like, oh, it's just that kind of talk that keeps us divided. It's like, bitch, they're literally passing fucking laws to divide us. What are you fucking talking about? All right.
Yeah. Well, and I just also want to say, like, the media hasn't even made a big deal about this.
Well, of course not.
They just,
it's just
they were like, Tuesday they shrugged and moved on. It's just another black child killed, and they don't care.
All right. Well, let us wrap up headlines with some good news, at least. House Democrats have already freaked Republicans out by gerrymandering their own states in response to the GOP withdrawing their maps in order to try and rig the midterms. But Democrats are looking past the November blue wave, and they're setting their sights on 2028. And if they do what they're hoping to do, there's a very good chance they're going to lock Republicans out of power for a very, very long time, which I won't be surprised if Republicans start trying to pass laws to keep blue states from gerrymandering, which would be amazing to see the Supreme Court sign off on that one. This is from Time Magazine. Democrats plan to be more aggressive on the redistricting front ahead of 2028, take advantage of a favorable election environment in 2026. In 2026 is key. Williams tells me her committee sees hundreds of state house seats as flippable this fall. Of those, just 19 targeted races would deliver Democrats a trifecta: the governorship and majorities in the state House and Senate in 4 states: Arizona, Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. That would open the doors to Democratic led redistricting should those state houses choose to go down that path. Now, having a trifecta in those states, which is very doable in the blue tsunami that Trump has graciously set up for us, would allow Democrats to gerrymander the absolute shit out of those states, picking up dozens of seats, up to one analysis is over 50 seats they could pick up, which is way more than what Republicans could pick up. Never mind that New York is going to do the gerrymandering now, and California can wipe out almost all of their remaining red seats if they feel like it. Here's the thing. Red states have been gerrymandering for years. Blue states have gerrymandered, but not nearly as much as red states have, which means they have way more seats they can give themselves than Republicans, especially if they pick up trifectas in 4 more states, especially a state like Wisconsin, which has already been heavily gerrymandered by Republicans to their own benefit. So, and Arizona is like purplish, but it's never really been heavily gerrymandered in either direction. Same thing, like Minnesota's blue, but it never been heavily gerrymandered. And Michigan kind of goes back and forth. It's a swing state. It's never been heavily gerrymandered by Democrats. You could, if you pick up 50 more seats in addition to what we picked up this cycle, and then you add on top of that New York and California picking up probably another dozen seats, you're looking at between 50 and 60 something seats, which is Republicans can't match that. They don't have enough seats left to match that. And that would be a huge problem for them. Like, this is a redistricting war they should not have started. They just assumed Democrats would never retaliate. And now that they are, I expect that Republicans to start panicking soon and start going to court insisting Democrats aren't allowed to do this, only we are. And I don't know how you get that through the Supreme Court, but they're going to try.
Sorry, I was responding to somebody in our chat. So in other news, Trump attended the NBA Finals Game 3.
And then fell asleep.
During the game, he was booed by attendees at Madison Square Garden because his city hates him. And they don't want him at the game.
Yes. We New Yorkers always hated him.
And always. You guys always hated him.
Yep. He was a douchebag and no one liked him ever.
Now, this wasn't the first time that the deeply unpopular president has attended a sports game and been met with a chorus of boos. He really, for some reason, likes to go to sports games, I think, because he wants to show that he's like the man. But
he always liked to show up at sports games because he wants to hobnob with the athletes because he thinks it rubs off on him.
It does not.
It does
barely walk upstairs. So anywho's, in 2025, he went to the Washington Commanders game in DC and he was booed. Also, he went to the Super Bowl between the Chiefs and the Eagles and he was booed.
Boo. Sorry.
And then there's other times in the past where he also went to sports games and he was booed. In 2023, he was booed at a game, etc.
I think he went to one UFC thing and he got cheers there.
Of course. And he went to a NASCAR thing and he got cheered there. What could you...
Wasn't NASCAR kind of mixed, though? There was like a mix of cheers and boos.
Well...
Which was kind of surprising.
Was it? I don't know.
Yeah.
But if you look at where he was cheered, what is the common denominator?
The whiteness.
Oh, that's so weird.
I know.
Also, it's not just that he was booed at the NBA final games. I don't know if you know this. Well, you don't because you're not a sports fan. But sports fans, we are a very superstitious bunch. We do not want bad energy at our games. And Trump is a walking black cloud. The New York Knicks lost Game 3, 111 to 115.
Ouch.
Because Trump brought all of the bad luck. Fortunately, he was not at game 4 and they were able to bounce back and beat the Spurs 107-106.
Oof, tight game.
Yeah, it'd be like that.
That's a nail biter.
Sports fans, well, you watched one of our games last year, you know how it is.
Yep.
Like we just, we like the stress.
I would love to watch a live stream of you watching a Buffalo Bills Super Bowl game. That would be hilarious.
It would not, and you would never see that. Do you know why? I would sit in complete black silence watching a Buffalo Bills game. I've told you this. I am very upset that the Buffalo Bills are playing the Kansas City Chiefs this year on Thanksgiving because every single time I watch a Bills and Chiefs game, I sit there. I do not invite anybody over. I watch it by myself with my brother, and we sit in silence and we cuss a lot.
Well, that would be the funny part.
And after losing 4 Super Bowls in a row, I think that if we ever go back to the Super Bowl, knock on wood, that you might see a mass suicide if Bills fans lost. If we lost another game. I just call 998 or 988 if you have suicidal ideations, please. I make jokes, but don't listen to me. Anyways, just don't even. We're not allowed to joke about that. We got to move on.
Okay.
Now I'm sad. In other news, in other LOL news, Alaska Republican Dan Sullivan, the senator, MAGA moron, is facing a new challenger from the right, Dan Sullivan. If you think I'm joking, I am not. Dan J. Sullivan filed to run against Dan Sullivan 3 days before the deadline for the Senate race. Now, of course, Senator Sullivan immediately cried foul. He was like, "Look, his logo looks like mine, and he's just in it. Democrats put him in it to steal the election from me, and how dare they? This is just a big plot to steal the election from me. Look at him. Look at him. He's going to steal it from me. He wants to confuse voters."
Which, not for nothing.
He's probably right. We're not going to lie.
Even if he's not right, I could see why you would come to that conclusion. Like,
yeah,
why you would think that.
I mean, especially since Dan J. Sullivan had donated to Mary Patola in the past. And also he had a Democrat running his campaign. But Democrats have denied that they put this guy in the race. And I tend to believe them. I don't think they put him in the race. Now, is there a possibility that Dan J. Sullivan is a troll? That he's just a Democratic troll? Maybe.
And you know what? But this is the type of shit Republicans do all the time. So
all the time. This is the kind of stuff that's done in politics.
Yeah, boo-hoo.
Politics is a dirty game
for them.
And experts are saying that they might not be able to kick Dan J. Sullivan out of the race. Now, they're going to try. Alaska's lieutenant governor, who is in charge of the state's elections and who is also Republican, has launched an investigation into Sullivan number 2 after Sullivan number 1 accused him of being a spoiler candidate. But Sullivan number 2 has argued that being a senator is a lifelong ambition of his, and that all of his friends have always called him senator because they knew that he wanted to be senator one day. And he doesn't know what Dan Sullivan is talking about. He just wants to represent the people of Alaska, and he has just as much right to be in this race as anybody else.
That's hilarious. Well,
it is the
good
funniest
luck and Godspeed.
thing. I saw I think it was a fake campaign ad that said, "Vote for me, Dan Sullivan. Don't believe this other guy, Dan Sullivan." I was like, that's so funny.
Dan Sullivan's a liar. Which one? Doesn't matter. All right, so chalk this up under, please, dear God, let this happen. Please, please, please. This is from News Nation. Greg Bovino, the former Border Patrol commander at large, who was the face of the Trump administration's crackdown on illegal immigration, has launched an exploratory committee to explore a presidential run in 2028.
Oh, no.
Please, please, dear God,
Oh my god,
Please.
I hope he wears his trench coat in all of his pictures.
Now, this is the guy we talked about last week who literally went to another country to join a global summit of some of the worst neo-Nazis in the world. Oh my god, he's not even hiding it anymore, right? He posted on Twitter him doing a little neo-Nazi, sea hail salute.
No,
Let this
literally.
yeah,
You showed me the picture. It was literally a salute.
let him run as a Nazi, because nothing would make the legacy press shit itself more than a neo-Nazi goose stepping across the stage throwing Nazi salutes, because he's not going to run as a moderate. He's going to run as a fucking Nazi, going, talking about how we have to get rid of all the immigrants and we have to make America white again, blah, 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 because the both sides lie that protects the Republican Party and has been protecting it for decades is so close to breaking down. And when it breaks, the Republican Party is fucked. And Bovino would just shatter it by going out there in his little Nazi trench coat and talking about how much he loves white pride and whiteness and how America needs to be white again. It would be absolutely fucking amazing. And I desperately need this to happen. So please let the little short Nazi go out and run as the Republican, and he would get so many people supporting him, and it would be fucking amazing. So, fingers crossed.
It's wild.
All right. Let us move on to self-care of the week. Now, I was originally going to talk about my MAGA in-laws coming into town last weekend and how my self-care was not dealing with their bullshit. But I have something better. Something much more fun happened after they were gone. On Monday, right, there's a game I have on the Xbox. It's called Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. It's this fantastic, such a simple concept. One person uses the controller and they're looking at the screen. And on the screen is a briefcase with a bomb on it. And it's got a whole bunch of little modules and you have to defuse each module. The way you defuse it is there's other people sitting with a printed out paper instruction manual, and you have to tell them what you see on the screen, and they have to tell you what you have to do to defuse the bomb. They're not allowed to look at the screen. You're not allowed to look at the instruction manual. And some of the modules get really complicated. It's like 6 wires. There's blue, there's yellow, there's red. How many? And you have to explain it, and they have to look through all the instructions and tell you which wire to cut. And it just gets more complicated from there. It's a huge amount of fun. It's a great party game, and it's very, very stressful. So me and Anastasia and Lila had played this game. Like, we had all played this game before, but we were discussing this with June, Lila's girlfriend. And we were like, we need to see Lila and June play this, because we figure if you guys could get through this without breaking up, it'll be great. Your relationship is super solid. And June thought this would be a great idea. Lila was like, oh my God, because the game is super, super stressful, because, there's a timer counting down and it's making a lot of noise and it's beeping. And, as it gets closer, it starts beeping louder and blah, blah, blah. And, when it blows up and everybody goes, ah, it's a huge amount of fun. So Lila and June came over on Monday to play with Anastasia. And I just sat there and watched, and I laughed my ass off. It was a huge amount of fun. They only played for about an hour, but it was great. They had a fantastic time playing with each other, and I just got to sit there and I got to watch my girls and, June, Lila's girlfriend, and they had a great time together, and I was just in absolute heaven watching them have so much fun. And as they were leaving, I gave Lila a hug, goodbye, love you, goodbye. And then before I even, I was like, do I give June a hug? Because I have before. I didn't even have to think about it. June just walked right up to me to get a hug. And I was just like, oh, right. So I was really happy about that.
He's like, he's in. I'm in.
Yep. I was just like, yes. She just expected a hug from me. And I was like,
she likes me. She really likes me.
So, and then on Thursday, which would be yesterday, Lila and I recorded a podcast. And this was her last podcast before she goes to college. Like, we'd recorded several before this, Lila explains. And it was really sweet and it was really touching. Lila teared up a bunch of times before she just started crying, and it was great. And you guys get to listen to it next week, so look forward to that. I'll be posting it on Thursday, and it was just really nice. And we talked about anxiety and depression, and then the conversation turned towards her and June, and the ways that June has helped her with her anxiety, and it was just really really sweet, and it was a great conversation. So that all turned out to be, and now Anastasia wants to finally record a podcast because me and Lila recorded one, and now she's interested in recording one, which I've been wanting to do with her for literally years. So that was my self-care. I spent time with my girls this week and it was great. So I had a really good week.
Yay, I'm happy to hear that. So my self-care was seeing my son after like 2 months
Wow, was that
because
long?
yeah,
Oh my God, you must have been crawling out of your skin.
you would think so, but I think as I've told you, you kind of get used to them being gone when they're gone. You know,
I hope not.
you raise your kid to grow up and fly the nest, and they fly the nest, and you just kind of have to hope that you did a good job, you know? His first 2 years in college, I would see him all the time. I was like definitely his first year, I was that mom, I would drive up every week.
Oh, it's true.
And
This is his third year now.
it's his 3rd year. He's going into his 4th year.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. We're summer now. Duh.
Right. So his first year of college, I was like, "You don't need a meal plan. I'll just bring you meal prep every week." And every single week I drove up to where his school is. It's about 45 minutes away, and I brought him meal prep. I saw him for just long enough for him to take the food and run like a squirrel or a raccoon, a little trash panda. And then the second year I also brought him food, but I didn't do it quite as much as I'd done it the last time. So you just, you just kind of get used to it, and he's really busy. He's studying for the MCAT right now. So on Thursday, my uncle was having surgery on his college campus, at the cancer center there. He was getting his feeding tube replaced, which ended up being really fast. And he didn't even get put under. They just thread like a stent through, a wire through,
Mhm.
and they replace it like that. It's super quick. It was like the longest, it was 15 minutes for the procedure, I think. All of the rest of the time was just us waiting. When we finished, we went to my son's apartment, which is literally like 3 minutes away from the school. He lives in an off campus apartment. And he was doing practice work for the MCAT when we got there. So we sat on the sofa, we chatted with his girlfriend, and then we all went out to eat pho, and it was a really good time. Um, you know, he hurt himself. He told me that he hurt himself. He was working out and he was lifting weights and he felt something really painful. Now, I've joked about my oldest son maybe being on the spectrum before, but I haven't really explained why we talk about that. So, like, he felt pain when he was lifting the weights, and he was like, I guess it's supposed to hurt, and he just kept doing it. So he was like, "Oh, it's just from lifting," you know what I mean? So then he went to urgent care 2 weeks later, Monday, and he has tendinitis.
Ouch.
If it doesn't go away, he will have to go to an ortho, and if it's bad enough, it could require surgery. Knock on wood that he did not injure himself to the point where he needs surgery. And then so he's doing really well. We love that for him. He might be home in 2 weeks. In July, he's going to take his brother to Busch Gardens. His brother really misses him and was pissed off that I saw Aiden without him. He's like, "What do you mean you saw my brother?"
How
I
dare
was
you?
like, "So sorry." I apologize. And that was about it. I saw him, and I've been really busy driving people to and from work because I have friends whose car broke down, and I'm a nice person. It's become my full-time job.
Oof.
I
Hope they're
did
getting
wash my
gas money.
No, they have. I washed my dog the other day. I told Ogre that I was squatting down to wash my dog, and I woke up yesterday morning. I was like, "Why do my butt muscles hurt?" And I was like, "Oh God, this is 41."
Yep, middle age.
I can't squat down, and they still hurt today. So I had a good week seeing my child, and I'm not even mad that he came into town yesterday to watch the World Cup with his girlfriend's family and did not come to see me.
Yeah, speaking of dropping food off and stuff. When we were talking on the podcast, we were talking about, I'm not going to see you. It was like, what she said, it was like, but you're going to be coming down, like, to say, you said you're going to come down and, take me grocery shopping. You're going to come down like every couple of weeks, aren't you? And I was like, okay, I don't know if I'm going to come down every 2 weeks because you'll be sick of seeing me if I do that. But, I'll come down once a month if you need me to come down to get you groceries. And we were talking about that, but she definitely wants me to come down.
No, I'm telling
So,
you, like, you were so worried about this. Like, believe me, when they leave the nest, they want to see their parents. I'm sure there's some kids who go away to college who are just like, "Oh, thank God I'm gone." But, like, even kids who have really good parents are happy to be away from their parents, you know what I mean? But some of us have kids who are, like, kinda codependent. My son is equal parts, um, independent and codependent. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
he's like I think for him it was more like, "Oh, if mom cooks my food, I don't have to," you
right.
know? But, it's just it'll be fine. She's gonna go away to school, you're gonna see her all the time. You're gonna see her a lot more than you think you're gonna see her.
I
I
know. It was just nerve wracking to think about it.
Listen, I mean, I have anxiety, I understand. Look, can I just say really quickly, the person who I'm giving a ride to work, I asked her to she knits really well, she's, like, very talented. So it's like, "Oh my god, can you make me a Buffalo Bills purse?" And then she was sending me, like, pictures yesterday of the color yarn for the blue because it's, like, royal blue,
Mm-hmm.
and, she goes, "Okay, I bought it," and I sent her a message back that says, I am as excited as Alexa Pro allows." Well, anyways, we're gonna wrap it up, guys. Thanks for joining us today on a Friday. We know that it wasn't our normal day, but we appreciate all of you who are here and
Yes, we
who
do.
listen to our stories about being a parent, being parents, which is hard work.
It is. All right. That is it for today's show. The Opinionated Ogre podcast, like the newsletter, is free and 100% supported by you, our amazing audience. We have no advertisers or sponsors, so please consider becoming a paid subscriber for only $5 a month or just $50 a year. If
Real
you
quick, Lexapro, if you want to endorse us, we're here for you.
if you prefer, we now have. If you prefer a one-time donation, we now have a PayPal button and Venmo for your convenience. Help others join the Ogre Nation conversation by sharing the OgPod on the social media platform of your choice, and give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening. You can find me on the Opinionated Ogre at Substack, Blue Sky, and also on TikTok. Florida Woman, where can our beloved audience find you?
You can find me at Florida Woman Rants on Substack.
Awesome. The next blue wave is coming November 3rd, 2026. Just 143 days until we storm the beaches and stomp the Nazis into the dirt. They cannot stop it. Remember, you are never alone. We beat the fascists once, and we will fucking do it again. Adios.
Adios.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We will not be recording a live episode next week. Next Thursday, I have the episode I recorded with Lila. I will be posting that. I'm on vacation next week, but I do have articles. I've written 5 articles. I'll be posting them Monday through Friday. They're going to be lots of fun for you to read. It's the Ogre's Death Party watch list of all the people who I very much look forward to reading their obituaries and why. So it's going to be it's a lot of fun. So I won't be here, but I'll be here in spirit. And
I
we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.